There are many anime that have incredibly ripped characters that will inspire you to work out, but none of which even come close to the likes of Baki. If you've seen Baki, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, all of these characters are absolutely massive, absolutely ripped, and would do awesome in any kind of strength sport and would do great in bodybuilding as well. In this series, we're breaking down each character from Mr. Olympia status all the way to fit / like, do they actually work out? And as you can see, we have way more characters up towards the top of that list in the bodybuilder division than we do down towards the, I don't know if they work out or not divisions. Last time we looked at the GOAT of anime himself, Mr. Oliva, and he would definitely be Mr. Olympia. Along with him would be Kakukayu, who would also be a Mr. Olympia contender. Those two together on stage would be unstoppable. But are there any other characters on this list that we haven't looked at that could be right up there with them? Or would they be under them, maybe in the pro bodybuilding division, which are still massive characters? I mean, you look at someone like Baki, Doyle, Retsu, Jack, all of those characters could potentially even be Mr. Olympia competitors themselves. I think they're just a notch down below Kaku or Mr. Oliva. And then under that, you have people who are absolutely ripped, but maybe not like the likes of a pro bodybuilder like Hanayama or Ali Jr. And then under that, we have the athletic division, which has characters like Goki, Katsumi, Diane, and Miyamoto. And then we have the fit and categories, which are like, maybe they work out, maybe they don't. They probably are in pretty good shape either way because this is Baki and no one's out of shape in Baki. So today we're gonna be looking at 4 characters. We're gonna be looking at Ryu, Shiba, Shoban, I believe is how you say that, and Pickle. And obviously Pickle is the star of this new season of Baki Hanma. So I'm excited to look at his physique and break it down and see how well he would actually do in a bodybuilding competition. But first up, let's look at Ryu. Now this guy is absolutely massive. He to me looks kind of like a power lifter. Let's see his stats here. He's 6'7" and 220 pounds. Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, if he's 6'7" and 220 pounds, he would be pretty lean. And when I say lean, I mean like he would look like a basketball player, right? Because that's about the stats of a basketball player. This guy doesn't look like a basketball player. As we can see from other pictures, does that look like any basketball player you've seen? The closest thing I can think of is like Shaquille O'Neal, and even still, he's not even close to this. So this guy is absolutely massive. You could tell just by his neck muscles that he's massive. And then you could look at the traps right there. Look at the arms. The overall shape to me kind of reminds me of a strongman competitor, but like a really, really ripped one. Now, of course, this guy gets a bad rap because he's known for getting his face plumb slapped off by Yujiro, which, I mean, let's be honest, most characters would, but let's just look at him from less of a fighting perspective and more of a bodybuilding perspective. So he is absolutely ripped. He's got muscles for days. So muscle mass wise, he's like a 10 out of 10. And then as far as like conditioning goes, he's like 10 out of 10 basically as well. In a lot of these shots, we can see a lot of feathering, a lot of vascularity of the muscles and everything. I keep going back to this one because I just think it's probably the best shot we have of him. But yeah, you can see the feathering right there, the vascularity. He's got muscles for days. He's got conditioning. He's got those two things down. But I think his proportions are a bit whack, and I think he's got a very, very wide waist, and his chest is actually pretty small compared to his abs, surprisingly, and his arms. So his proportions are off just a bit. His symmetry is off just a bit. So I'm not gonna rate him as high as I would a lot of characters. I think I would place him as a pretty good amateur bodybuilder right there. So next up we have Shiba. So Shiba stands in at 6'1", 158 pounds. And of course, we're not really gonna take these stats too much into account because honestly, they're probably off like we saw with the last character. We're gonna be looking at their physiques more from a proportions perspective. Like this guy is absolutely ripped right here. He's got muscles for days. Like look at those arms, look at the chest, look at the abs especially. He's got a very aesthetic physique. He kind of reminds me of like a fit Instagram model now. I don't know if he's big enough to be a bodybuilder per se, but he could definitely be a fitness model of some sort. So, I mean, if he were gonna compete, he would definitely be in the smallest division, which is typically the men's physique division, but he definitely wouldn't be on a pro level or anything like that. So I'm gonna place him, he might be able to be, I think with some of the shots that we saw where he's extremely lean, I think he would do really well, but even still, he might be athletic. I'm gonna go ahead and place him in the amateur bodybuilding division because he could definitely compete. I just don't know how well he would do. He needs to add on just a bit more muscle mass. All right, so up next we have Shoban. I believe that's how you say his name. He is 5'10". We don't have any other stats on him. And to be honest, we don't have a lot of physique shots of him either. Basically, the best shot we can see right here is his face. He has that death face going on, which is really good. That's when their face is sucked in like like that, you know, and that means that they're just absolutely lean. They have a very small amount of body fat on them, so that's good. That means his conditioning is probably on point. I pulled up this picture of him next to Oliva because Oliva is obviously the GOAT, and he's actually pretty comparable height-wise, and then size-wise, he's not too much below him, and he kind of fills out this suit right here. Like you can tell, he's got pretty good delts, a pretty good chest, and probably a pretty good V-taper right there. He's got big forearms and stuff. So for what we can tell, I would say he's got a pretty good physique. I mean, look at the lat popping out right there. Yeah, he definitely has a good V-taper. He's got a good physique overall. He definitely works out. We just don't have a lot of great shots of him to really determine if he could be a bodybuilder. So for now, I'm gonna put him in the athletic division. Although I do think that if we had some good shots of him, he would definitely be amateur and potentially even pro. But for now, we're gonna put him in the athletic division. All right, so now the moment you've all been waiting for, Pickle. Pickle is a lot of people's favorite character. He's one of mine as well, and he is basically the antagonist of the new Baki Hanma season, and he is massive. He comes in at 8 foot, 441 pounds, and I think honestly probably even more than that. And damn, let me tell you, he looks good for his age. For being like millions of years old, this guy looks great. What's this dude's skincare routine? I mean, he could have a YouTube channel all about skincare. I mean, look at that. Look at that face. He's got the skin like a baby's bottom. Is that what they say? So look at these muscles right here. He is absolutely ripped. He's got really whack proportions. Now that's on purpose because they want him to be like animalistic, like prehistoric kind of looking. So his proportions are off in a lot of shots. This is actually probably the best proportioned shot that I've seen of him actually. So he's got a very small and narrow waist with really wide lats, really wide delts. So he's got a great V-taper, a great X-like shape to his physique. So that's really good. He's got really nice delts. I mean, really great delts, big arms. Here's where the proportions really come into play here though. His forearms are like bigger than his bis and tris and way longer, which is weird. Of course, they don't really count off for like those sorts of proportions where it's like things that you can't help typically. But like the forearms, because they're longer, it just really throws off his physique in general. And then like the calves are like just as big, if not bigger than the quads right there. They're pretty crazy. And then this guy, he might have a good skincare routine, but he needs to cut his toenails right there. He's looking like Dumb and Dumber up in here. You guys know what I'm talking about? He's got muscle mass for days. He's lean and he's ripped. He's got a great skincare routine. He's probably a good poser as well, let's be honest. But his proportions and his symmetry are off just a bit. Maybe in a prehistoric bodybuilding setting, this guy would be the Mr. Olympia. But going based on today's standards of bodybuilding with proportions and stuff like that, I'm gonna have to place him in the pro bodybuilder division. I'm still gonna say he's right up there. He's like, his muscle mass, his conditioning, all that sort of stuff kind of makes up for me like how bad his proportions can be in some of these shots. So I'm definitely gonna place him above the amateur bodybuilding division. I definitely think he looks better than any of these 4 guys here. And he looks better than a lot of people here too. I just don't think he's quite at the Mr. Olympia level per se. And if I were gonna place him in a division, you know, you have the men's physique, the classic, and the open bodybuilding divisions. Those are the 3 primary ones. I would probably place him in the classic physique division just because the aesthetic qualities of his physique. He'd be right up there with Chris Bumstead, C-Bum, and he would be on stage with him. Chris Bumstead would definitely beat him, but you know, it would be crazy to see this guy on stage being like 8 foot tall. That would be insane. Could you imagine how scary it would be? The judges might even give him a perfect score just because of how scary he looks. It would literally be like people like Chris Bumstead like down here height wise, and then you got like him like just like crazy towering over everyone and absolutely massive. That would be insane. I would love to actually see that. That'd be kind of crazy. I wouldn't want to be there though. All right, so that's our rankings for today. Do you agree? Do you disagree with all these rankings? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, if you've made it to the end, leave a bicep emoji in the comments down below as well. And if you're enjoying the series, make sure to like and subscribe as it really helps out the channel and so you don't miss the next video. And speaking of the next video, I'll catch you there. Thanks for watching.